Part 48. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 471. The terrible curse power spread immediately. The distance is relatively long and there will be consumption on the way. However, when it reached Ye Chen and the others, the curse still had 7,000 to 8,000 power. The power of the curse entered the Brahma ring, causing hundreds of damage. There are 7,000 more. At this time, Ye Chen noticed the terrifying curse power that was attacking. Qian, use absolute defense immediately. Ye Chen's voice sounded in Lu Qianqian's mind. Without thinking, Lu Qian instantly released her absolute defense, covering the time cube where Ye Chen and the others were. The power of the curse now broke through the defense of Xuanhuan Palace. The Xuanhuan Palace is now a 5-star immortal treasure with a defense power of more than 6,000. However, the curse attack of the Supreme Heavenly Curse is rather strange, and the Xuanhuan Palace only withstood 4,000 to 5,000 attacks. There are still more than 2,000 attack power left. This attack is still extremely powerful. Buzz. The invisible curse power hit the absolute defense released by Lu Qian. Not even the slightest bit of curse power could pass through. However, if it is not cleaned up, the power of the curse will not disappear immediately. At this time, the 5 heavenly sword bamboo trees in Xuanhuan Palace exploded with power and were cleared. Ye Chen also took action immediately. Within 2 seconds, the cursed power of the attack was cleared away by Ye Chen and the others. Stop! Ye Chen quickly reminded Lu Qian, and Lu Qian immediately put down her absolute defense. Using the enlightenment pill, her strength has improved a bit, but now she can only use absolute defense for 4 seconds. You can only recover 4 seconds per year. Such a powerful attack. Ye Chen was a little scared. If Xuanhuan Palace had not reached the 5-star immortal level and their strength was very good, the attack just now would definitely kill one of them. Enlangxiu and the others are immortal level experts and will not really die, but if something happens, they will not be resurrected until millions or even tens of millions of years. Ye Chen couldn't accept it. Husband, what's going on? Lu Qian came to Ye Chen's side and asked. Enlangxiu and the others also arrived at Ye Chen's side quickly, and Ye Chen also informed them. What if there is another attack in the future? The strong men from the Palace of Life and Death just carried out a curse attack. The curse is super powerful. There must be a 3-star immortal level expert in the Palace of Life and Death who has entered the Paradise of Death. And the other party has not just reached the 3-star immortal level. Ye Chen said in a deep voice. The attack on their side is so strong, even if it is not 10,000 when it is sent out, it will not be much different. Husband, how strong is the opponent's attack power? Enlangxiu asked. Ye Chen frowned and said, it may exceed 10,000. Enlangxiu said, Husband, if the opponent only has 3-star immortal level combat power, even if he gets the purple gold war god token, his attack power won't be that strong, right? Ye Chen said, if the opponent has the top 3-star immortal level and has the purple gold war god token, it is possible to achieve such attack power. But the other party probably doesn't have such strength. There is a high probability that the person who takes action is the heavenly curse supreme. It is unlikely that his 3-star immortal cultivation level will reach the 4-star immortal level now. Zi Lanyan said, then he should have used special means. It is unlikely that the other party will launch such a terrible attack in a short time. In his mind, he should have killed one of us. They probably want to use this method to threaten you, husband, so that you can let him go. Ye Chen nodded slightly. He frowned secretly. The Heavenly Curse Supreme is a 3-star immortal powerhouse. Even if he kills many people in the Palace of Life and Death, he will respond. The Supreme Heavenly Curse probably won't care either. If a lot of people were killed, Ye Chen would feel disadvantaged. Those strong men in the Palace of Life and Death are useful to him. When the time comes to bring July Universe back and slaughter it, July Universe should be able to be promoted to a super first-line advanced universe in the future. You continue to practice. Ignore them for now. Ye Chen thought about it for a while and said. The 5 heavenly sword bamboo trees are still growing rapidly. In about 3 months, they will reach the 4-star immortal level, and their strength will be greatly improved. Now their combat strength value is only 205. Can it be upgraded to 1250 by then? In addition, Ye Chen's enlightenment pill has not been fully digested yet, so their strength can still be improved. Nowadays, it is better to be still than to move. Good husband. En Langxiu and the others went to practice. Ye Chen stayed inside the time cube. He hung up and practiced, always paying attention to the situation outside. This side of the Palace of Life and Death. Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others are waiting for Ye Chen and the others' response. But 3 days passed and they received no news, and 5 days passed and there was still no news. Hide it and ignore my attack. Do you think that if I attack like this once, I won't be able to attack again? The Heavenly Curse Supreme sneered. After attacking like that once, he would no longer be able to use the curse system to launch such a powerful attack in a short period of time, but he could still continue to attack. Let the rest of the forces help shout out that if Ye Chen doesn't release our people from the Palace of Life and Death, I will continue to attack and kill Luo Hongjian and the others. The Heavenly Curse Supreme said in a deep voice. He thought for a while, but still did not continue the attack. If all of Ye Chen's women are killed, they will not be used to threaten Ye Chen. The strong men in the Palace of Life and Death immediately spread the news. Many strong men from other forces helped the strong men in the Palace of Life and Death to speak. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The Supreme Heavenly Curse and his friends thought that Ye Chen must have heard their calls. But they still didn't get any response. The Supreme Darkness frowned and said, is it that Luo Hongjian and the others have become immortal level strongmen, or has Luo Hongjian reached the immortal level? Ye Chen cares most about Luo Hongjian. As long as she doesn't die, even if En Langxiu and the others die, Ye Chen doesn't care that much. The Supreme Heavenly Curse had a gloomy face. In the past half-month, he went to many places in the Death Paradise, but didn't find Ye Chen and the others. In fact, he had been to the area where Ye Chen was. It's just that the Brahma Ring is a 4-star immortal level treasure, and the Hongjian Palace is a 5-star immortal level treasure. The Supreme Heavenly Curse didn't sense the breath of Ye Chen and the others. This seat continues to attack. The Supreme Heavenly Curse said in a deep voice. As he said that, he immediately attacked with all his strength. The attack power is 4,800 times. Now that he is closer to Ye Chen, when he reaches Ye Chen and the others, the attack power is still 3,000 times. Ye Chen doesn't take such a strong attack seriously. The defense of Hongjian Palace alone cannot be broken by such a curse attack. A few days later, Tianzu Supreme and his men still did not get the news. It was as if Ye Chen and his men were not in the Death Paradise. Brother Tianzu, I will try to summon. One of the strong men in the Life and Death Palace said that he had a good summoning system. In terms of cultivation, he was at the 2-star immortal level. Among the 3 2-star immortal level strong men in the Life and Death Palace, his strength ranked in the middle. Yes. Tianzu Supreme nodded. The strong man in the Life and Death Palace immediately used the summoning ability of his system. He summoned Luo Hongjian. If they could summon Luo Hongjian, they would have a huge bargaining chip. Half a minute later, the strong man was confused. There was no response to the summoning. Luo Hongjian was randomly teleported by the system before, and it was possible to teleport to the Supreme Universe. At that time, her cultivation was relatively low and it was easy to teleport. Now Luo Hongjian's strength is 10,000 times stronger. She is still in the Hongmeng universe. And in her master's dojo. How much more difficult is it to summon her accurately? It is a fantasy for a strong man from the Hall of Life and Death to summon her. If it were possible to summon Luo Hongjian, Ye Chen would have asked the system to strengthen its summoning capabilities long ago. Ahem, summoning failed. Luo Hongjian may have already reached the immortal level. The strong man from the Hall of Life and Death said with a little embarrassment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 472. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months have passed. The Heavenly Curse Supreme attacked dozens of times in different areas of Death Paradise. But Ye Chen and the others still didn't make any movement at all. It has been half a year since they entered Death Paradise. In half a year, Ye Chen and the others will leave the Paradise of Death. Those strong men in the Palace of Life and Death will not be teleported back to their original place in Ye Chen's space treasure. They will be taken away by Ye Chen. Everyone, I can use the system to carry out curse attacks again. In this situation, do you think we should attack the others again? The Heavenly Curse Supreme said in a deep voice. Before, he believed that a woman must have killed Ye Chen. If he attacks and kills another one, Ye Chen might go crazy. Kill. The Dark Lord said simply and coldly, if he ignores us, he will have to pay the price. Most of the other immortal level experts nodded. After searching for several months, Mao was still not found, and now they were filled with anger. Before they came in, they swore that they would definitely take down Ye Chen and the others in a short time. The result? It's been half a year, and they haven't seen any sign of Ye Chen or the others. Okay, then attack again. This time, the target is in Langxiu. The Heavenly Curse Supreme said in a deep voice. He still did not directly target Luo Hongjian as the target of the curse. Cursing to kill Ye Chen and Luo Hongjian has a much higher chance of failure. And if the curse is successful, their chances of saving people will be greatly reduced. Die. The Heavenly Curse Supreme launched an attack. Ye Chen and the others are here. The 5 4-star immortal sword bamboos have all reached their full state. The combat power value has reached 1250. Ye Chen's previous combat power value was 2003, but the enlightenment pill improved his cultivation a little, and his combat power value has reached more than 2600. Again. Ye Chen's eyes flickered, and he was always paying attention to the attacks of the Supreme Heavenly Curse. This time the attack was stronger than the first. Before entering the Brahma Ring, the attack power reaches 8000. After passing the Brahma Ring and the Beauty Palace, the attack power dropped to only 3000. At this time, Ye Chen and the 5 powerful Tongtian sword bamboo plants had set up layers of defenses. 3000 curse attacks did not break Ye Chen's defense at all. Last time Lu Qianqian launched absolute defense, this time Lu Qianqian's system's power was saved. Is the interval 3 months? Ye Chen secretly thought. There is still half a year to go. Ye Chen was thinking about whether to expose himself and attract the powerful men from the Palace of Life and Death. It would be better to deal with the immortal powerhouses in the Palace of Life and Death here. It's just that Ye Chen doesn't know how many immortal powerhouses have entered the Palace of Life and Death. Luring the enemy over, it will be embarrassing if you can't defeat him. The Hongjian Palace can suppress the Heavenly Curse Supreme, and with the 5 4-star immortal level Tongtian sword bamboo, plus him and an Langxiu, Ye Chen feels that there is a high probability that they will still have the upper hand. That's all, wait 3 more months. Let the Supreme Curse consume you again. Even if Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others get here, they won't be able to launch the attack just now. Ye Chen secretly thought. Another reason is that if you take the initiative to expose yourself, you will show stronger strength. Maybe they were so frightened that Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others didn't dare to come over. Time passed day by day, and Ye Chen did not draw any draws during this time. He planned to draw the lottery again when Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others came over. The system has used most of its devouring power on system upgrades. There isn't a lot of power left for lottery these days. When the enemies come, you have a higher chance of getting a big prize. 2 months have passed, and the Heavenly Curse Supreme has obtained a purple gold level God of War token. His combat power reached 6,000. The Heavenly Curse Supreme discovered something strange. He is not far from Ye Chen and the others now. The strange thing discovered by the Supreme Heavenly Curse was the Brahma Ring. He has been here before, but his strength was lower than now and he didn't find anything. Everyone, I should have found this disgusting mouse, Ye Chen. The Heavenly Curse Supreme sent a message to the other powerful people in the space treasure. They did not analyze and look for Ye Chen and the others. It is worth mentioning that the 1-star immortal level experts among them have now obtained gold level God of War tokens. Among Ye Chen and the others, only Ye Chen has the gold level God of War token. Brother Tianxia Taoist, is it true? Brother Tianxia Dao, don't act in a hurry, we'd better save people. The other strong men in the Palace of Life and Death were excited. The Heavenly Curse Supreme asked the other strong men to go outside. Their 12 immortal level experts surrounded the area where the Brahma Ring was located. Heavy barriers cover the world here. Ye Chen immediately noticed something strange in the outside world. System, sign in 3 times. Ye Chen calmly said in his mind. After accumulating luck for so long, and the enemy surrounded them, the enemy is still very strong, so they should be able to sign in and get good treasures. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for receiving a 5-star Immortal Master Servant Contract gift pack, which contains 5 4-star Immortal Master Servant contracts. Host, please note that the Immortal level Master Servant contract can only imprison characters 2 levels lower. Ye Chen said, in other words, a 4-star Immortal Master Servant contract can only control 2-star Immortal characters. Yes, host. Ye Chen shook his head secretly. It's not worth it to make such a thing to control people. But for Ye Chen, the 4-star Immortal Master Servant contract was obtained by signing in, which was effortless. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host Eternal World Tree for upgrading to the 5-star Immortal level because the Eternal World Tree is not around, the upgrade is temporarily suspended. Ye Chen rolled his eyes. This reward is actually not bad. Xiao Lu is only 3-star Immortal now. Upgrading to 5-star Immortal level is a lot of growth. But Xiao Liu's absence did not improve their current strength. Could it be that the system judged that my current situation is not very tense? Ye Chen muttered in his heart. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 5-star Immortal sign-in point. Ye Chen. Another good reward that can't be used for the time being. Fortunately, the reward obtained for the first sign-in is quite good. Ye Chen, you are already surrounded by us, just surrender. The happy voice of the Supreme Heavenly Curse sounded. He has 6,000 times the strength of the top Liuli realm, and the other 11 masters of the Life and Death Hall are also strong. He is now full of confidence. The other masters of the Life and Death Hall are also full of confidence. Supreme Heavenly Curse, more than 1 million immortal masters of your Life and Death Hall are in my hands. You leave. We will leave safely and release the masters of your Life and Death Hall. Ye Chen's voice sounded outside the Brahma Ring. If you dare to attack me, I will kill you immediately. They are different from you, they are only immortals, they will die. The Supreme Heavenly Curse said coldly, Ye Chen, you are dreaming. Surrender, you have a chance to survive. Then maybe you can join our Life and Death Palace. Ye Chen said indifferently, Supreme Heavenly Curse, since you said that, it seems that we have nothing to talk about. I will kill all the people in your Life and Death Palace and we will break up. The Supreme Darkness said hurriedly, fellow Daoist Ye Chen, don't get excited, we can talk slowly. Everything is done slowly, isn't it? Ye Chen's tone was slightly relieved, your words are decent, you can enter my treasure space, and show you something. Let you understand my strength, so that you don't make a misjudgment. Supreme Heavenly Curse, please stay away. Don't try to play tricks, otherwise many people will die. The Supreme Darkness frowned secretly. He was alone in front of Ye Chen. Although he was not worried about his own death, if he was scattered, it would take a long time to revive. Ye Chen, if it was just me, even if I saw it, the others might not believe it. How about this? How about we send 3 people? The Dark Supreme said. 2. Ye Chen said after a moment of silence. Okay. The Dark Supreme nodded. They had already discussed it secretly, and 2 2-star immortal level strongmen were dispatched. The Heavenly Curse Supreme said coldly, Ye Chen, you only have 10 seconds, don't play tricks. With the strength of the Dark Supreme, the Heavenly Curse Supreme and others did not think that they could not hold on for just 10 seconds. If Ye Chen did something tricky, they would attack from both inside and outside after 10 seconds. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 473. The Supreme of Heavenly Curse retreated far away, and the Supreme of Darkness and another Supreme quickly disappeared. They were received by Ye Chen in the Brahma Ring. And they went directly to the Xuanhuan Palace. Boom! Instantly, the terrifying pressure of the Xuanhuan Palace descended. 5 4-star immortal sword bamboos also released powerful pressure on them. The Dark Supreme now has a combat power of 1600. The other Supreme is more than 900. The strength of the 2 is actually quite good. Among Ye Chen and his friends, only Ye Chen is stronger than them. And Langxia can only exceed 900 combat power when she uses the system to attack. But the Supreme of Heavenly Curse and his friends never thought that Ye Chen's system was so strong. He actually signed in to get a 4 or 5-star immortal treasure. Go. Ye Chen took out the Master Servant Contract Scroll. The 2 Master Servant Contract Scrolls fell to the 2 of the Dark Supreme and his friends respectively. The 4-star Immortal Contract Scroll can only be used to control the 2-star Immortal Strongmen, which is quite heartbreaking. But there is also a little benefit. If the opponent's strength is completely imprisoned, a contract scroll of this level can force people to recognize the master. The 2 Dark Supremes only have the cultivation of the 2-star Immortal level, which meets the requirements. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. When 10 seconds were about to pass, under the domineering power of the contract scroll, the Dark Supremes finally stopped resisting. Outside, the Heavenly Curse Supremes were ready to take action. Brother Tianzu, don't move, we are fine. Both of the Dark Supremes sent a message. The Heavenly Curse Supremes breathed a sigh of relief. How could they know that the Dark Supremes had been taken down in just 10 seconds? Dark Deist friend, what's the situation? The Heavenly Curse Supreme asked in a voice transmission. Brother Tianzu, Ye Chen has connected the lives of many powerful people in our life and death hall with him. If he dies, our people will also die. He threatened us to leave. The Dark Supreme sent a voice transmission. The Heavenly Curse Supreme sent a voice transmission to another Supreme, try to summon me. The other Supreme immediately told Ye Chen the situation. Ye Chen smiled. He was thinking about how to trick the Supreme of Heavenly Curse and the others into coming in, but the Supreme of Heavenly Curse actually took the initiative to join the network. Summon. Ye Chen said hurriedly. The next second, the summoning started. The Supreme of Heavenly Curse originally thought that it was highly unlikely that he would be summoned in, but in the blink of an eye, he was summoned to the Xuanhuan Palace in the Brahma Ring. Boom! As soon as he came in, the powerful force of the Xuanhuan Palace immediately suppressed the Supreme of Heavenly Curse. 5 4-star Immortal Sword Bamboos released extremely domineering power. Ye Chen's sword formation also enveloped the Supreme of Heavenly Curse. Kill. The Dark Supreme and another Supreme directly attacked the Supreme of Heavenly Curse. Not good. The Supreme of Heavenly Curse was terrified. His 6,000 combat power was suppressed by half by the Xuanhuan Palace. The 5-sword bamboo suppressed his power a lot. In this case, the attack of the Dark Supreme and the others posed a great threat to the Supreme of Heavenly Curse. Extinction Curse. Without thinking about full-strength defense, the Supreme Heavenly Curse immediately launched an attack on Ye Chen. He used the system. The attack power reached 4,000, which was very good. The Supreme Darkness and the others actually attacked him, and the Supreme Heavenly Curse instantly judged that they might be controlled. As long as Ye Chen died, the Supreme Darkness and the others should be able to get rid of control. Xuanhuan Palace and Tongtian Sword Bamboo might also be in chaos. The powerful curse power impacted the defense of the Xuxian sword formation. In the blink of an eye, the curse power rushed out. But the 4,000 curse power had been reduced by half at this time. Outside the Xuxian sword formation, Enlangxiu and the other 4 girls had already built a defense. Breaking through their defense, the curse power consumed another 1,000. Qian, there is no need to use absolute defense. I can withstand the remaining power. Ye Chen transmitted the voice. The remaining curse power really rushed towards Ye Chen. Ye Chen had a powerful defensive treasure, and when his defensive treasure was broken through, the curse power was only a little bit left. This little curse power could not cause any harm to him at all. Puff. Puff. Ye Chen is fine here, but Tianzu Supreme is in trouble. He was severely injured by Dark Supreme and his men. With lower resistance to injury, he was immediately suppressed by Xuanhuan Palace even more severely. Banned. Soon, Ye Chen's powerful power entered Tianzu Supreme's body and imprisoned him directly. You can come over. Brother Tianzu is powerful, he has taken Ye Chen. The laughter of Dark Supreme rang out outside the Brahma Ring. The other 9 immortal level masters of the Life and Death Hall relaxed. They arrived next to the Brahma Ring. The power of Dark Supreme forced a passage in the Brahma Ring at this time. The 9 masters of the Life and Death Hall entered the Brahma Ring without any scruples. Their consciousness directly entered Xuanhuan Palace. Ye Chen, you have fallen into our hands, release our people from the Life and Death Hall immediately. Dark Supreme shouted. Tianzu Supreme was also present. His strength was imprisoned, but Ye Chen disguised himself, and the 9 strong men who came in from behind the Hall of Life and Death could not find this. Brother Tianzu, you are still amazing. You have taken down Ye Chen and the others, and we have no sense of participation. The 9 immortal level experts from the Palace of Life and Death soon entered the Palace of Beauty. Really? How do you want to participate? Ye Chen sneered. In an instant, the domineering power of Xuanhuan Palace suppressed them. They also felt the extremely powerful aura of the 5 heavenly sword bamboo trees. Surrender immediately or die. The Dark Supreme said coldly. The 9 strong men who came in from behind the Palace of Life and Death were dumbfounded. It's not that something happened to Ye Chen, it's that the Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others have been taken down. Go. Ye Chen used another contract scroll. Among the 9 strong men, the one with the 2-star immortality level was also controlled. As for the other 8 1-star immortal level experts, Ye Chen was not interested. There is no need to waste precious master-servant contract scrolls on them. Master, everything is finally solved. Enlangxiu smiled. Ye Chen nodded slightly and glanced at Enlangxiu, Lu Qianqian, and Shang Guanyan, Enlan, Qianqian, Yan'er, you can also call me husband from now on. Enlangxiu and the other 3 girls' eyes lit up. They actually wanted to call it that. Although they don't feel that calling them master means they are wronged. Husband, husband. Enlangxiu was more courageous and she was the first to call. Husband. Lu Qianqian and Xuanhuan looked at each other and shouted sweetly. Zi Lanyan smiled and said, "Three sisters, you should have changed your names a long time ago. You call me master, and I call you husband. This has always put me under great pressure. Dark Supreme, give you three a mission to gather everyone in Death Paradise." Ye Chen glanced at the three powerful men controlled by the Dark Supreme and said, "Yes, Lord." The Dark Supreme and the others arrived in the outside world. They issued an announcement in the name of the Palace of Life and Death, and the strong men from other forces will obey. The strong men who have not gathered together after the deadline will be killed every time they come across. Among the remaining strong men, there should be dozens of strong men with systems. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 474. When the Dark Supreme and others spoke, they showed their strength moderately, and the other powerful forces were very honest. Within a month, all the other powerful forces gathered. If they did not gather together, they would be dead if they were found by the Dark Supreme and others. System, sense which people have the system. Ye Chen said in his mind. Not long after, Ye Chen picked out 40 or 50 powerful people with systems from them. Most of them, Ye Chen directly forced them to obtain their systems. A small part gave them benefits. "Husband, where is this?" En Langxiu asked. The few of them are now in Ye Chen's space treasure. Ye Chen arrived at a very special place in the Death Paradise. According to the information obtained from the Dark Supreme and others, the Death Paradise is a very powerful treasure. The ancestors of the Life and Death Hall obtained a certain control permission for the Death Paradise. So the Life and Death Hall can slightly adjust the opening time of the Death Paradise. Only then can Ye Chen and others be summoned in. Only then can the back door be opened to allow more powerful people from the Life and Death Hall to enter the Death Paradise. This is the core area of Death Paradise. Underworld Palace. Ye Chen transmitted the message. "System, is there any analysis result?" Ye Chen said in his mind. The voice of the system sounded in Ye Chen's mind. Things like Death Paradise should also exist in other places. It is probably used for blood sacrifice. The master of this plane may have a sacrificial system. Of course, it may not be done by the master of the plane. The strong men who died here are equivalent to being sacrificed. Host, I suggest you don't get the permission here, it may alarm the other party. Ye Chen was shocked. System, how many strong men have died here from ancient times to today? How much benefit can be gained by sacrificing so many strong men? The system said, "Host, it depends on how strong the other party's system is and how efficient it is. It is also possible that the other party's system has directly controlled the other party. Sacrifice only improves the system itself." At this moment, Ye Chen keenly noticed that the aura of a three-eyed demon statue in the Underworld Palace had changed. This change was extremely subtle. But Ye Chen has a gold-level war god token, with a combat power value of more than 2000. He is so powerful that he can feel the slightest change. This thing is waking up. Ye Chen retreated instantly. But the Hades Palace was actually closed directly. Not good. Ye Chen felt ominous. Without any hesitation, Ye Chen immediately released the Xuanhuan Palace. The Xuanhuan Palace became much larger, and he entered the Xuanhuan Palace. "Young man, you have captured many people and killed them. The Lord of the Underworld will bless you." A low voice sounded in the Hades Palace. In the Xuanhuan Palace, Ye Chen felt dizzy. That power has an extremely powerful effect of bewitching people. Boom! 5 Tongtian sword bamboos burst out with a powerful aura. Xuanhuan Palace also burst out with a powerful aura at this time. Ye Chen shook his head and woke up in shock. Next to him, En Langxiu and the other girls also woke up from confusion. "Host, there is something wrong with the war god token. This thing can increase your strength in here, and it is also convenient for the other party to control you. Luckily, no one has obtained the purple gold level war god token. The system reminded Ye Chen. Ye Chen was a little scared. If he killed Tianzu Supreme, he could actually explode the purple gold level war god token and have such a level of war god token. Because there is no opponent in here, Ye Chen did not do this. Who is the Lord of the Underworld? Ye Chen said in a deep voice. The three-eyed demon statue had its eyes closed, but it opened its eyes at this time. The Lord of the Underworld is the supreme existence. Believe in the Lord of the Underworld and be loyal to the Lord of the Underworld, you can get anything you want, and you can become stronger. The three-eyed demon continued to bewitch. It's just that before it was bewitchment with power, and now it is bewitchment with words. The system said, Host, this Lord of the Underworld is most likely not the Lord of the Plain. Yet, Ye Chen said in his mind. If the other party is the Lord of the Plain, there is no need to use bewitchment. The Lord of the Plains lived for too long, and most of the time he was sleeping. Perhaps it gave the others a chance to rise. I still have use for those people I captured. Please open the door and let us out. Ye Chen said in a deep voice. The eyes of the three-eyed demon god instantly became much sharper. If you don't believe in the Lord of the Underworld, you will be punished. Sorry, I have no interest in being the subordinate of the others. Please open the door. Ye Chen emphasized his tone. The eyes of the three-eyed demon god turned blood red, and Ye Chen felt an extremely deadly threat. Then you die. A blood-red light shot out from the third eye of the three-eyed demon god. This blood-red light was not fast. But it moved forward, and the space was broken. You still have a little time to think. Submit, or die. The cold voice of the three-eyed demon god sounded. Dark Lord, you attack that one. Ye Chen transmitted the voice. Dark Lord and his men immediately took action. Although they got the God of War tokens, they all only had gold-level God of War tokens. In the Xuanhuan Palace, they were not bewitched by the three-eyed demon god. Boom! Boom! The power of the Dark Lord and the others hit the bloody light. The bloody light became slightly dimmer. But its power is still extremely terrifying. Court death. The three-eyed demon said coldly, and the bloody light immediately accelerated. Within 1/100th of a second, the bloody light passed through the defense of Xuanhuan Palace. The Dark Lord and the others formed a defensive barrier at this time. But their defensive barrier didn't last even 1/100th of a second. Flourishing. Ye Chen's voice sounded in Lu Qianqian's mind. Lu Qianqian released absolute defense. Boom! The power of the Xuanhuan Palace, the 5 4-star immortal sword bamboos, as well as Ye Chen, Dark Supreme, and Langxiu, and the others all fell on the foot-long bloody light. In 1 second, Ye Chen and the others took action no less than 10 times. The power of the bloody light was finally exhausted under Ye Chen's powerful attacks. Receive. The bloody light burst, and Lu Qianqian immediately closed the absolute defense field. Every second of this is extremely precious. She now only has 4 seconds in total. It just took a second. What a terrible attack. Ye Chen was frightened in his heart. If Lu Qianqian's absolute defense hadn't been there to buy them time to attack, he might have been scattered when this thing found him. As an immortal level powerhouse, his plane will not be destroyed and he will not truly die. But since he is a 2-star immortal, it would be difficult to resurrect him. Being dispersed by such a terrifying force, it will be even more difficult to resurrect. Maybe it will be resurrected tens of billions of years later. You bitch, I'm giving you face, right? Ye Chen looked at the three-eyed demon with cold eyes. Destroy it for me. Ye Chen ordered Dark Supreme and the 3 of them. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 475. The 3 tyrannical forces of the Dark Supreme immediately attacked the three-eyed demon. The three-eyed demon's defense is also very strong. But it can't move. The attacks of the Dark Supreme and others quickly knocked down its defense. Boom. Boom. While the Dark Supreme and the others were attacking, the three-eyed demon god also continued to attack Ye Chen and the others. But the subsequent attack is not as strong as before. With the 5 heavenly sword bamboo trees in Xuanhuan Palace, they can withstand the attack. Ye Chen, stop immediately. Ye Chen, if you destroy this throne, the Lord of the Underworld will sense it. The three-eyed demon said sternly. It has strong attack and defense, and is also aware. However, it is not an immortal powerhouse. It just harnesses the power of Death Paradise. So what if I can feel it? If I don't destroy you, won't the Underworld Lord behind you know what's going on here? Ye Chen continued to let Dark Supreme and the others take action. If the Lord of the Underworld seeks trouble, that will happen in the future. Let's find him later. As long as the Lord of the Underworld is not from the Hongmen universe, and he enters the Hongmen universe, the Lord of the Underworld may not dare to enter the Hongmen universe. If you don't kill me, I'll keep it a secret for you. The three-eyed demon said eagerly that half of his strength had been knocked out in a short period of time. The Dark Supreme and the others are not weak. The three combined have an attack power of over 3,000. They can attack with full force several times in 1 second. Tell me the information about your Underworld Lord. If you are honest, maybe I can spare your life. Ye Chen said coldly. I dash. The three-eyed demon couldn't tell. It simply doesn't know the information about the Lord of Hades behind it. This is the same as Ye Chen guessed. The Lord of the Underworld is afraid that he wants to replace the master of this plane, so he must strictly keep his identity secret. How could a statue of the three-eyed demon know? If you can't tell me, just die. Ye Chen sneered. You'll regret it. The three-eyed demon said sternly, and its last defense was defeated by the Dark Supreme and the others. At the moment of its death, another blood-red light shot out. Lu Qianqian had already prepared it. The blood-red light passed through Xuanhuan Palace's defense and hit her absolute defense. Boom. Boom. With 5 sky-breaking sword bamboo trees, Ye Chen and others took action with all their strength. The power of the bloody light was quickly consumed by Ye Chen's attacks. Come. Where the three-eyed demon god was just now, a fist-sized spar floated. From this thing, Ye Chen did not notice the danger. He received the spar into the Xuanhuan Palace. Grabbing the crystal with his hand, a large amount of information immediately poured into Ye Chen's mind. This thing is actually the control crystal of this paradise of death. After Ye Chen obtained this, he directly obtained the control permission of this paradise of death. This is good. Ye Chen's eyes brightened. After obtaining this, he fully obtained the control permission of Death Paradise. It's not like the Palace of Life and Death, where you get a little permission. Next, on Sea Area 13, he can directly enter the Paradise of Death from anywhere. When in danger, this can save your life. Originally, there were still 2 or 3 months before we could leave. Now that we have obtained the control permission of Death Paradise, we can leave Death Paradise directly. Ye Chen secretly thought. After talking to Enlangxiu and the others, Ye Chen took Enlangxiu and the others directly and left Death Paradise with a large number of powerful men from the Palace of Life and Death. The place where it appears is a bit far away from the July universe. Ye Chen appeared in the place where he disappeared before. With full permission to the Paradise of Death, Ye Chen could actually slightly adjust his exit position, but Ye Chen did not do that this time. The space treasure carries a large number of people, and the range that can be adjusted is very small. A lot weaker. Ye Chen muttered in his heart. In the Paradise of Death, Ye Chen and the others' strength increased 7-fold. Now in the universe C, Ye Chen and the others' strength has not increased at all. However, Ye Chen's current combat power value can also reach 330. This is already strong. For those who have just reached the 3-star immortal level, their combat strength is generally only 250, and some are even less than that. Over there in July universe, there should be immortal level experts in the Palace of Life and Death. Ye Chen secretly thought. After thinking for a moment, Ye Chen quickly flew to July universe. When he first entered Death Paradise, Ye Chen was quite close to July universe, but July universe continued to fly towards the Titan universe. This side of July universe. The 3 immortal level powerhouses in the Palace of Life and Death stayed outside the July universe, and they blocked the July universe. Don't let Luo Yudi leave. Entering the July universe, they are far from Luo Yudi's opponents, but Luo Yudi is not their opponent outside. There is a 2-star immortal level figure among them. The other 2 are both 1-star immortal. The 3 of them came here after the Dark Supreme entered Death Paradise. I don't know what's going on in Death Paradise now. What else could happen? Sooner or later, Ye Chen and the others will fall into the hands of Senior Tianzhu and the others. In addition to the 3 immortal level strong men, there are many other strong men here in the Palace of Life and Death. They are all relatively relaxed. Although many people died in their Palace of Life and Death, in their opinion, the powerful foundation of their Palace of Life and Death is still there. After getting rid of Ye Chen and his men, the Life and Death Hall is still the only superpower in the 13th Sea area. Many people died inside, and those who are alive may be treated better. Half a day later, Ye Chen arrived at the July universe. His strength is stronger than the 2-star immortal level strongmen of the Life and Death Hall here, and none of the strongmen of the Life and Death Hall here noticed Ye Chen's approach. Summon. Using the summoning ability of the system, Ye Chen directly summoned the 2-star immortal level strongmen of the Life and Death Hall here to the Hongjian Palace. After suppressing the opponent's strength, Ye Chen easily controlled the opponent using the master-servant contract. Everyone gathered together. There is a secret operation. After controlling this 2-star immortal level strongman, Ye Chen let him go. The other strongmen of the Life and Death Hall here had no doubts at all. Soon they were all taken down by Ye Chen. Brother-in-law. After dealing with the strongmen outside the July universe, Ye Chen quickly entered the July universe. 9 times increase. Ye Chen's strength rose wildly. His strength in the July universe is higher than that in the Death Paradise. En Langxiu and the others have increased their strength by 7 times, but their strength is the same as before. Chang'e. Ye Chen hugged Luo Yudi tightly. It has been almost 3 years since he entered the Death Paradise, and he really missed Luo Yudi. This little girl is a happy person. Brother-in-law, why did you come back early? After several minutes, Luo Yudi, who was kissed by Ye Chen, said with a red face. After not kissing for a long time, the little girl was a little shy. The Death Paradise has been settled, so we can come out early. Ye Chen smiled. The two talked for a while, and Luo Yudi pulled in Langxiu and the others to talk about the things in the Death Paradise. It is naturally impossible to talk in such detail in normal communication. System, strengthen Xiaolu. Ye Chen said in his mind. Xiaolu can be strengthened to the 5-star immortal level after receiving the reward before. Host, Xiaolu can reach the 5-star immortal level within half a year. The system prompted. Xiaolu has reached this level now, and strengthening is not instantaneous. Yes. Ye Chen nodded. Half a year is not a long time, it is completely acceptable. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Did. Chapter 476. System, do you think Dark Supreme and the others will lose control if they return to the Sky Universe? Ye Chen asked. When the Dark Lord and the others go back, if they don't lose control, it will be easy to deal with the Lord of Life and Death. They have already adapted to the environment there. And they are strong. Even if there is no increase, the Dark Supreme and the others are stronger than the Lord of Life and Death. But the Dark Supreme and the others are 2-star immortal level powerhouses, so how could they not have an increase over there? With the strength of Tianxian universe, there is no problem for dozens of strong men to obtain the deputy order of the Cosmic Will Order. Leaving from there, how many strong men have 2-star immortal strength? The system said, Dark Supreme and the others can increase their strength there, and they may get help from the sky and the universe, and it is completely possible for them to lose control. Ye Chen rubbed his temples. That's what he was worried about. In the paradise of life and death, the strength of the Dark Supreme and others can also increase, and even their strength can increase even more, but there is no problem inside. Host, if the Master Servant contract is used to control a 1-star immortal powerhouse, the opponent will most likely not lose control. The system reminded. I know this. Ye Chen said, he still has one of the 5 Master Servant contract scrolls. But a Master Servant contract scroll of this level is really a waste if it is used to control a 1-star immortal character. When I get to that side, my strength will be suppressed 100 times, and my combat power will be suppressed to 3. The Lord of Life and Death's combat power is 5, and he can increase it 7 times. The combat power value can reach 35, 10 times more than mine. More importantly, there may be other immortal level experts in the Sky universe. Ye Chen frowned secretly. If there is an immortal level strongman in the headquarters of the Palace of Life and Death, even if he uses a Master Servant contract to control a 1-star immortal level strongman, it will not be so easy to defeat the Palace of Life and Death. Go to the other side of the Sky Vault universe and surround the Sky Vault universe. Ye Chen's eyes sparkled. It is also a way to surround the sky and the universe first, and then deal with the Masters of the Life and Death Hall and the others. After half a year, at least Xiaoliu can reach the 5-star immortal level. As long as he does not enter the Sky universe, Ye Chen will not be afraid even if the 4-star immortal ancestor from the Palace of Life and Death comes back. Brother-in-law, what are you thinking about? Luo Yudi came to Ye Chen and hugged Ye Chen's arm. Nothing. Chang'e, I'll take you out for a walk alone. Ye Chen smiled. He suppressed his thoughts for the time being and spent a few days with Luo Yudi. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Luo Yudi was alone with him every night. She felt a little overwhelmed. Brother-in-law, is it time to get down to business? In the morning, Luo Yudi said weakly, she was tortured a lot last night. Isn't this possible? Who vowed 3 days ago that he would let me know how powerful he is? Ye Chen said with a smile. Brother-in-law, I think business is more important, he. Luo Yudi got up quickly. Ye Chen also got up and called En Langxiu and the others together. En Lan, the 4 of you stay in July universe. You can help hide and remove July universe, and then cover up the aura of July universe. Ye Chen said. Moving in July universe is not that easy. However, En Langxiu and the 4 of them now have immortal strength, so they have no problem moving July universe. In the vast sea of universe, if you move and hide it, July universe will be safe. Husband, are you and Chang'e going to Tianxian universe? En Langxiu asked. Ye Chen nodded. Chang'e has been here alone for a long time. She came with me, and the controlling Dark Lord and the others, it's not a big problem. En Langxiu and the others nodded. Ye Chen also has the Hanjian Palace. There is a powerful Tongtianjianzu in the Hanjian Palace, so they are not worried. Ye Chen was also not worried about En Langxiu and the others. They can still increase their power by 7 times. Even if a 3-star immortal level expert adapts to the environment of July universe, he will not be a match for En Langxiu and the 4 of them. Husband, be careful. Husband, Chang'e, be careful. En Langxiu and the others spoke one after another. Not long after, Ye Chen left July universe, and Luo Yudi stayed in his space treasure. In the cosmic sea, Ye Chen's strength did not increase. But he is still very strong. Extremely fast. In a few days, Ye Chen had gone from July Universe to Tianxian Universe. The Lord of Life and Death Hall and the others have not received the latest news from July Universe. I don't know that the 3 immortal level strong men over there, as well as many other strong men, have fallen into Ye Chen's hands. Brother-in-law, Tianxian Universe is still much stronger than our current July Universe. Luo Yudi said. Ye Chen nodded. The volume of Tianxian Universe is 10 times that of July Universe. The Sky Universe is the only super universe in the entire Sea Area 13. This is not just a lie. Dark Supreme, you are hiding around the Sky Universe and monitoring the entire Sky Universe. If there is a powerful person coming out of the Palace of Life and Death, report it immediately. Ye Chen said via voice transmission. It won't take long for news from July Universe to come through. There should be movement in the Palace of Life and Death by then. Even if you take down an immortal level powerhouse, that would be great. It's easy to get it outside the Sky Universe, but it may be very difficult to get it inside. Yes, my lord. The 4 2-star immortal level masters, including the Dark Supreme, said in unison. They quickly went to 4 different directions of the Sky Dome universe. With their strength, they were able to monitor the entire Sky Dome universe. Ye Chen entered the Hanjian Palace in the Brahma Ring. He had no plans to act for the time being. A week passed. The news from the Titan universe finally came. Golden Arrow Ancestor and his people can't be contacted, and the July universe disappeared. The Lord of Life and Death received the news, his face changed drastically, and his brows furrowed tightly. This situation is very wrong. The Golden Arrow Ancestor was the 2-star immortal level master next to the July universe. Now he is controlled by Ye Chen. If everything is normal, the Golden Arrow Ancestor and his people can't be contacted. The July universe can't disappear. Did the Golden Arrow Ancestor and his people move the July universe away so that Ye Chen and his people can't find it? If so, it's a good way. But why didn't the Golden Arrow Ancestor and his people say hello before they acted? The Lord of Life and Death walked around, and he didn't feel very good. Taking a deep breath, the Lord of Life and Death sent a message to the 3 ancestors of the Life and Death Hall who were now in the Sky Universe. They also came in the later period. Now they are in charge of the Sky Universe. Among the 3 ancestors, there is a 2-star immortal level strongman and 2 1-star immortal level strongmen. Their strength can be increased 5 times in the Sky Universe. The Lord of Life and Death is very powerful. With 3 more such ancestors in charge of the Sky Universe, Ye Chen will be in great trouble if he rashly enters the Sky Universe. The 4 of them are scattered in different places in the Sky Universe and can monitor most areas. If Ye Chen enters, he will most likely be discovered. Lord, are you worried that Ye Chen and the others may have come out of the Death Paradise? One of the 2-star immortal level strongmen said, his Taoist name is Soul-Destroying Heavenly Venerable. Good at soul attacks. The Lord of Life and Death looked up at the sky. With the strength of the Tianzi Patriarch and others, I shouldn't be worried. But I don't feel good in my heart. 3 ancestors, do you think it is possible that the enemy has already reached the outside of our Sky Universe? As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 477. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord shook his head. The time has not come yet. It should be impossible for Ye Chen and the others to come out from inside. Deathland is very powerful. There is no such possibility that Brother Tianshideo will be defeated by Ye Chen and the others. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord knows how powerful the Heavenly Curse Supreme is. The Heavenly Curse Supreme has extremely strong ability to kill with long-distance curses. He thinks it's possible if he can't save anyone, but if the Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others fall into the hands of Ye Chen and the others, The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord thinks the possibility is slim. Palace Master, you must be worrying too much. One of the other two one-star immortal level experts smiled and said, he is the Deadwood Supreme. Brother Tiankadeo will definitely not be discovered immediately when he enters it. It won't take long for him to get the bronze level God of War token. As long as he has a bronze level God of War token, his strength should surpass Ye Chen. The master of the Palace of Life and Death sighed softly, I hope nothing will happen. 3 ancestors, over there in July universe, I wonder if any of you can go there. Ancestor Jinjian and the others cannot be contacted, July universe has disappeared, we cannot ignore it. The 3 ancestors discussed it secretly, and Ancestor Kumu said, Palace Master, I'll go over there. As an immortal level powerhouse, he will not die unless the plane is destroyed, so Ancestor Kumu is not very worried. Besides, he didn't think Ye Chen and the others could come out. Ancestor Kumu, please trouble you. The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death said. Ancestor Kumu quickly left Tianxian universe. As soon as he came out of the Sky universe, the Dark Lord discovered him. My lord, the Withered Wood Supreme has come out of the Palace of Life and Death. He has the top 1-star immortal level cultivation. The Dark Supreme sent a message. Ye Chen immediately arrived outside the Brahma ring. Although his cultivation was only 2-star immortal, he had the strength of 3-star immortal, and he discovered the Deadwood Supreme instantly. Dark Cage. The Dark Lord takes action. The Deadwood Supreme immediately felt that he was in absolute darkness. Nothing can be seen. Brother Dark Deo. The Dead Tree Supreme was shocked, this was clearly the Dark Supreme taking action. But why did he attack himself? And hasn't the Dark Lord already passed into the paradise of death? This meeting should not come out. Break. With fear in his heart, the Dead Tree Supreme immediately used the forbidden technique without any hesitation. His attack power has doubled. But even so, it is difficult to get out of the dark cage of the Dark Supreme. The Dark Supreme has a strength close to the 3-star immortal level. Ban. Ye Chen quickly entered the dark cage. He joined forces with the Dark Supreme and easily imprisoned the Deadwood Supreme's strength. Receive. Ye Chen received the Deadwood Supreme into the space treasure. Half a stick of incense passed in the blink of an eye. The faces of the masters of the Palace of Life and Death became a little ugly. Before the Deadwood Supreme left, the soul-destroying Heavenly Lord told him to leave for 5 minutes before returning. If he could come back, it meant there were no enemies outside. Now the time for half a stick of incense has passed. The Deadwood Supreme did not return. 2 ancestors, could it be that Ancestor Kumu misunderstood that he was going back in time with half a stick of incense? The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death said. It's not impossible. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord nodded slightly. But he said that, and he didn't think that the Deadwood Supreme would be wrong. Soon another half stick of incense passed. The Lord of Life and Death Hall and the others still have no news about the Deadwood Supreme. In this case, there is a 99% chance that something will happen to the Dead Tree Supreme. After another while, there was still no news from the Deadwood Supreme. 2 ancestors, there should be enemies outside the Sky universe. Could it be that the enemies are not Ye Chen and the others, but come from the Supreme Universe? The Master of the Palace of Life and Death said solemnly. The Palace of Life and Death occupies C area number 33. Large forces and super forces in the Supreme Universe are basically not interested in it, but medium-sized forces may be interested in it. Under normal circumstances, those medium-sized forces will not mess around because the effort is not proportional to the reward. But now the strength of the Palace of Life and Death is greatly damaged. It's possible. Soul-destroying Heavenly Lord frowned. He felt that this possibility was higher than if Ye Chen and the others were outside. Palace Master, now it's not a question of how to capture July universe. Now our goal must turn to self-preservation. The enemy must not be allowed to enter the sky universe and adapt to the environment here. Soul-destroying Heavenly Lord said with a serious expression. The Lord of Life and Death Hall nodded. It's actually okay if the enemy enters, as long as they can discover it as soon as possible. This way you can easily defeat the enemy. They were afraid that the enemy would sneak in without them noticing at all. Within the Brahma ring, Yechen let the dead tree supreme come to him. He did not ask the dead tree supreme immediately, but asked him to go to the heaven refining tower first. The heaven refining tower is a torture tower. The current level is the 3-star immortal level. Used to deal with 1-star immortal level characters, the effect is quite good. Deadwood Supreme, how do you feel? Yechen chuckled. The dead tree supreme looked at Yechen with a gloomy expression. His immortal level cultivation would not kill him, but he would still feel pain. Every second in the heaven refining tower is torture. The Dark Lord said solemnly, fellow Taoist Deadwood, it would be better for you to be loyal to the Lord. My Lord is much stronger than you estimated. The next second, Yechen made the Withered Wood Supreme feel the terrifying pressure of the Red Beauty Palace. The 5 Tongtian sword bamboos also released an extremely domineering aura. Friend Withered Wood, the Master's Palace is a 5-star immortal level. Those Tongtian sword bamboos are all 4-star immortal level. We have only one 4-star immortal level strongman in the Palace of Life and Death. The Golden Arrow Supreme also said. The Withered Wood Supreme was extremely shocked. Yechen's strength was so strong, and the Dark Supreme and the others had already pledged allegiance to Yechen. He didn't know that the Dark Supreme and the others were not loyal obediently, but Yechen used the master-servant contract. Yechen smiled and said, Withered Wood Supreme, think clearly. Although you are an immortal level strongman and will not die, if you don't listen, the next days will be extremely difficult. You will deeply feel the taste of living a life worse than death. The Withered Wood Supreme looked at the Dark Supreme and the others. The Dark Supreme and the others were stronger and had already compromised, and his psychological defense line quickly collapsed. Greetings, Master. After taking a deep breath, the Supreme Withered Wood knelt on one knee and said. Yechen nodded with satisfaction, Supreme Withered Wood, as long as you are obedient, I will not miss your benefits. It is entirely possible for you to reach the 2-star immortal level in the future. Get up. How many immortal level masters are there? The Supreme Withered Wood said, there are 2, one of them is the soul-destroying Heavenly Master, with the cultivation of the 2-star immortal level, and the other is the Flowing Light Supreme, with the 1-star immortal level. In the Sky Dome universe, their strength can be increased 5 times. Speaking of this, the Supreme Withered Wood looked at the Dark Supreme and the others, Master, if we enter, it is entirely possible to take them down directly. The Supreme Withered Wood knew that the strength of the Dark Supreme and the others could also be increased inside. Yechen shook his head, it's easy to take them down. Stay here, there should be more immortal level masters coming to the Hall of Life and Death. The Supreme Withered Wood nodded. He thought that Yechen should be surrounding the point and attacking the reinforcements. How could he know that Yechen was not at ease with the Dark Supreme and the others entering? My lord, they told me to return in half an incense stick of time before I came out. Now they should know that there are enemies outside. Supreme Deadwood said. Yechen raised his eyebrows. The lords of the Hall of Life and Death were not stupid. They knew to verify it this way. Supreme Deadwood, there is one person who does not surrender. You will use all means to target him next. Yechen said indifferently. The next second, Supreme Deadwood appeared next to Supreme Heavenly Curse. Supreme Heavenly Curse is now in the Refining Heaven Tower. His hands and feet are tied with chains. Brother Heavenly Curse. Supreme Deadwood was extremely shocked. Supreme Heavenly Curse had actually fallen into Yechen's hands. Supreme Deadwood, now is not the time for you to reminisce about the past. It is the time to test your loyalty. Yechen came to the side and said indifferently. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 478. The Deadwood Supreme gritted his teeth and displayed various instruments of torture. Brother Tianchi Taoist, with the Lord's strength, wouldn't it be better for you to surrender to the Lord? The Deadwood Supreme opened his mouth and said. Snort. The Heavenly Curse Supreme sneered, Yechen, you can't kill me, why should I bow my head? Brother Tianchi Taoist, since you said that, I'm sorry. The Supreme Way of Deadwood. The heavenly punishment curse of the heavenly refining tower can be withstood by the Supreme Being, but he only has a 1-star immortal level cultivation, so he cannot withstand it. Spineless thing, if you have any means, just use it. The heavenly curse Supreme said disdainfully. The Deadwood Supreme's eyes flashed with cold light. Various instruments of torture began to attack the Supreme Being. The torture tool itself may not be very effective, but in the Heaven Refining Tower, the effect will be greatly increased, and the effect when used is still very good. It is not easy for the Supreme Heavenly Curse to endure. He kept cursing. Half a day passed. The Dead Tree Supreme has tortured the Heavenly Curse Supreme severely. The Heavenly Curse Supreme is a 3-star immortal powerhouse. Under current circumstances, the possibility of the Deadwood Supreme returning to the Palace of Life and Death has been greatly reduced. Supreme Deadwood, next I will pretend to be a strong man from the other powerful forces and use you to negotiate terms with the Palace of Life and Death. You cooperate well. Yechen said. The Dead Tree Supreme said respectfully, My lord, I don't know how you want to talk to them. Get a clone to go inside. Tell them that the Golden Arrow Patriarch and others are all in my hands. My request is very simple. When the time comes, your Palace of Life and Death will hand over Yechen and Yechen's system to me, and I will release the people in your Palace of Life and Death. Yechen thought about it for a while. My lord, is this all? The Dead Tree Supreme said in confusion. Yechen nodded slightly. His goal was not to take down the Master of Life and Death Hall at once. This was very difficult. He first made the Lord of Life and Death Hall think that he was not Yechen. In addition, in the Paradise of Death, their Palace of Life and Death should have the absolute upper hand. Okay, my lord. The Supreme Way of Deadwood. Yechen added, you can tell them about my strength. Yes, my lord. The Deadwood Supreme created a clone. Not long after, his clone entered the Sky Universe. In a short period of time, the Lord of Life and Death Hall and the others discovered the clone of Supreme Kumu. Ancestor Kumu, what are you? The Master of the Palace of Life and Death asked in confusion, how could the Deadwood Supreme return to the Sky Universe in his avatar? The clone of Supreme Kumu smiled bitterly and said, there are indeed strong men from other forces outside. Their strength is too terrifying, and I was directly captured by them. Ancestor Kumu, then why did they let your clone enter dash? The Lord of Life and Death Palace asked. The Deadwood Supreme clone said, they are here for Yechen, or to be more precise, they are here for Yechen's clone. Brother Jinjian and many other people from the Palace of Life and Death are also under their control. Having said this, the clone of the Dead Tree Supreme took out half of his finger. This is the finger of fellow Taoist Golden Arrow. Soul-destroying Heavenly Lord said with a gloomy expression. He could clearly feel the aura of Golden Arrow Heavenly Lord above. Palace Master, they said that when we reveal Yechen and his system, they will release me and the rest of the powerful men in our Life and Death Palace. The Supreme Way of Deadwood. The Master of the Palace of Life and Death took a deep breath. The 3 ancestors of the Golden Arrow Patriarch are now under the control of the other party. Right. The Deadwood Supreme nodded. The soul-destroying Supreme said, Friend Kumu, do you know anything about the opponent's strength? Supreme Kumu smiled bitterly and said, there are at least 5 4-star immortal level experts, and there should be 5-star immortal level experts who are more powerful than our Palace of Life and Death. The Lord of Life and Death Hall and the others took a breath of cold air. This strength is amazing. In their palace of life and death, they only have a 4-star immortal ancestor. The other party doesn't know where he is yet. I don't know if I will return. Soul-destroying Heavenly Lord frowned. Palace Master, they are staying outside. Brother Tianxia Taoist and others will return, and they will not be able to leave the sky and the universe. And if there are strong men coming back from our palace of life and death, they will also capture them. Liu Guang Supreme is a woman. She said, it seems that when the time comes, we will have no choice but to trade with them. As long as the deal is completed, they should and may not form a deadly feud with our palace of life and death. For us, this is not bad news. It is much better than if the people outside are Ye Chen and the others. The masters of the palace of life and death nodded. That's true. They have already formed a bloody feud with Ye Chen and the others, which cannot be resolved at all. The other party probably didn't kill them. There is no hatred, and you can trade normally. In addition, since it's not Ye Chen and the others outside, they should still be able to win in the death paradise and the palace of life and death and take down Ye Chen and the others. Even if the system is traded out, they still have a lot of other benefits. Ancestor Kumu, the other party doesn't plan to enter our sky universe. The Lord of Life and Death Palace asked. Kumu Supreme said, it seems that the other party has no such plan. But if the transaction cannot be successful, I am afraid that the other party will take further actions. The masters of the Palace of Life and Death were confused as to what kind of system Ye Chen's system was. The other party is actually so interested. Ancestor Kumu, you go back and tell them that we are willing to trade with each other then. The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death spoke. He had already discussed it secretly with Soul Destroyer Tianzun and the others. There are so many powerful people in the Palace of Life and Death, it is impossible for them not to save them. In addition, since the other party is powerful, there is no need for them to offend the other party. Good. Ancestor Kumu's clone nodded, and not long after, his clone left the sky universe. Returning to the original body, the original form of Ancestor Kumu respectfully reported the news to Ye Chen. Ye Chen nodded slightly. Ancestor Kumu, your next task is to continue to use your torture tools to persuade the Supreme Curse to surrender, so work hard. Yes, my lord. Ancestor Kumu nodded and said, he knew that the chance of success would be very low. Ye Chen also knew. But Ancestor Kumu continues to torture the Heavenly Curse Supreme, and he will become even more loyal to him. Time passes day by day. At first, the masters of the Hall of Life and Death were very nervous and checked everywhere every day. Without Ancestor Kumu, the three of them alone would not be able to monitor the entire sky and universe. Gradually they relaxed a lot. The strong people outside the Sky Vault universe really just stay outside and do not enter the Sky Vault universe. Unknowingly, Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others entered the Paradise of Death for almost a year. Xiaoliu has been strengthening for more than 2 months. He originally had a 3-star immortal cultivation level, but now Xiaoliu has naturally reached a 4-star immortal level, with a combat power of about 3000, which is much stronger than the 5 heaven-reaching sword bamboo. Even if he enters the sky universe, Xiaoliu's strength is not weak. Not much weaker than the Lord of Life and Death. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord can reach 300 to 400 in combat power after a 5-fold increase. If the soul-destroying Heavenly Lord is not dealt with, it will be very dangerous for Ye Chen and the others to enter. The time is coming. The Heavenly Curse Ancestor and the others are about to return. The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death gathered many strong men from the Palace of Life and Death to welcome the return of the Heavenly Curse Ancestors. But when the time came, the Heavenly Curse Ancestor and the others did not show up. In the rest of the universe, no one came out of the Paradise of Death. Ye Chen obtained the control permission of Death Paradise and had already gathered all the people inside and brought them all out. What's going on? The master of the Palace of Life and Death was puzzled, so he immediately sent a message and went out to inquire. No strong person from the other forces went outside. Could it be that this time, the time in Death Paradise is not 3 years, but longer? The clone of the Deadwood Supreme once again arrived in the Sky Universe. The master of the Hall of Life and Death sensed it, and he quickly set out to pick up the clone of Supreme Withered Wood. What's going on? Did Brother Tianzhu and the others not show up? The clone of Deadwood Supreme had an ugly expression on his face. The master of the Palace of Life and Death coughed lightly and said, "Maybe this time is special and I need to stay a little longer." But half an hour passed, and Heavenly Curse Supreme and the others still didn't show up. Many people in the Palace of Life and Death were talking about it. Quiet. The master of the Palace of Life and Death said solemnly, "Let's disperse now, do your own thing well, and keep your mouth shut." After saying that, the master of Life and Death Hall, the Soul-Destroying Supreme, the Flowing Light Supreme, and the clones of the Deadwood Supreme arrived in the meeting hall. In this situation, Ye Chen and the others may win. It's also possible that this time it will take more than 3 years. No matter what the situation is, now we cannot trade with strong players outside. The master of the Palace of Life and Death said solemnly. The Soul-Destroying Supreme said, "The other party wants to get Ye Chen's system. We can't trade, but it is possible to cooperate." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 479. The Lord of Life and Death nodded slightly. It is indeed possible to cooperate with the other party. But how to cooperate? If Ye Chen and his team do not come here, they will go to the outside world and go to other places with the other party to target Ye Chen and his team. If Ye Chen and his team win, they also have to go outside, or let the other party go inside, and they have to adapt to the environment of the Sky Universe in advance. Ancestor Mihun, Ancestor Liuguang, do you think it is possible that Ancestor Kumu is lying? You have spent more time with Ancestor Kumu, and you know him more clearly. The Lord of Life and Death transmitted the voice. Although he thinks this possibility should be quite low, he cannot completely rule out such a possibility. This possibility is very low. Ancestor Kumu is an immortal level strongman. Even if the other party kills him, he can be resurrected. It is difficult to threaten him and make him betray the sect. The Lord of Life and Death transmitted the voice. The clone of the old man Withered Wood said with an unpleasant expression, "Palace Master, Brother Mihun, Brother Liuguang, I don't think the other party will believe that Brother Tianzhu and the others did not return. The other party may suspect that we want to obtain Ye Chen's system." The Lord of Life and Death was stunned for a moment. They did not consider this point. The Supreme of Tianzhu and the others control the entire Death Paradise and collect all the strong men in it. This is completely possible. It is reasonable for the other party to have such suspicion. If so, it will be troublesome. The Lord of Life and Death said with a gloomy face. If they explain, the other party may not believe it. Old Master Withered Wood, you talk to the other party first. Tell the other party about the situation here. Say that we are willing to cooperate with the other party to take down Ye Chen together. When the time comes, Ye Chen will be killed by us. If Ye Chen is killed in other places, we don't want any benefits. If Ye Chen is killed in the Sky Universe, we only want 1/3. The Lord of Life and Death said after thinking for a while. The clone of the old man Withered Wood smiled bitterly and said, "I hope the other party can agree, but I think the other party will most likely not believe it and will surround us to death." Soon, the clone of the old man Withered Wood left the Sky Universe. He told Ye Chen about the situation. In less than half an hour, the clone of the old man Withered Wood came to the Lord of the Life and Death Hall again. Hall Master, Brother Mihun, fellow deist Liu Guang, the other party said that they believe us and will stay here for the next time. The immortal level strongmen who returned from our life and death hall will be their guests first. The clone of the old man Witheredwood said. The faces of the Supreme Soul Mihun and others were gloomy. In the past, before the opening of the Death Paradise, there would always be some immortal level strongmen returning from the Life and Death Hall. After all, there are benefits to be shared. This time will definitely be no exception. This time, the Death Paradise was opened several decades earlier, so the strongmen who wanted to share the benefits have not returned yet. The Lord of Life and Death Hall took a deep breath and said, "It's best to solve it before some of our Life and Death Hall's strong men come back, otherwise they will have more bargaining chips. The foundation of our Life and Death Hall will also be reduced. The other party may simply destroy our Life and Death Hall by then." The soul-destroying Heavenly Venerable and the Flowing Light Supreme Venerable nodded. Ancestor soul-destroying, Ancestor Flowing Light, who do you think can go out and talk to the other party? The Lord of Life and Death Hall asked. He only has the immortal level of cultivation, he will definitely not go out. As for the other top Liuli realm strong men, they are not qualified at all. Ancestor Soul Destroying looked at Ancestor Flowing Light, Dai Liu Guang, you are a woman, maybe it's easier to talk to the other party, or you can go out and talk to the other party. Okay. Ancestor Flowing Light nodded slightly. She won't die, so she has nothing to refuse. Not long after, the clones of Ancestor Flowing Light and Ancestor Deadwood arrived outside the Sky Universe. Ancestor Flowing Light arrived in the Xuanhuan Palace. The Xuanhuan Palace has now changed its appearance and become more majestic and magnificent. The entire Xuanhuan Palace was bathed in divine light. The 5 Tongtian sword bamboos and the little willow all released their power to the fullest. Bang, bang, bang. The heartbeat of the Liu Guang Patriarch accelerated. The opponent's strength was too strong. She only had a 1-star immortal level cultivation, but she could clearly judge that the 6 strong men who released a strong aura all had a 4-star immortal level cultivation. Xuanhuan Palace, I'm afraid it's more than 4 stars immortal. It may be a 5-star immortal treasure. You want to see our palace master? Ye Chen changed his appearance and met the Liu Guang Patriarch in a side hall. The aura emanating from him was also extremely strong. The Liu Guang Patriarch could judge that Ye Chen should be a 3-star immortal level strongman. Your Excellency, on behalf of our Life and Death Palace, I want to discuss cooperation with your palace master. Liu Guang Patriarch said respectfully. Ye Chen said with some disdain, it's ridiculous for you to want to see our palace master with a mere 1-star immortal level cultivation. Hand over Ye Chen and the system that Ye Chen has, or hand over his body and the system, and we will release your people. Otherwise, you will die in the Hall of Life and Death. Ancestor Liu Guang hurriedly said, Your Excellency, there are still many strong people in our Hall of Life and Death who have not returned. The strength of our Hall of Life and Death is still relatively strong. Strong. You, the Hall of Life and Death, what qualifications do you have to say that you are strong in front of us? Ye Chen sneered and waved his hand impatiently. Go away. Ancestor Liu Guang did not leave immediately, she said, Your Majesty, I swear by the way of heaven, our heavenly cursed Taoist brothers from the Palace of Life and Death have indeed not returned for the time being. Ye Chen said with an indifferent expression, then we have nothing to talk about. If Ye Chen comes over, we will take it down directly. If Ye Chen doesn't come over, it won't be easy for us to find him. At this point, Ye Chen half smiled and said, You'd better hand over your things quickly. Having said this, Ye Chen waved his sleeves and left. Liu Guang Supreme left the Xuanhuan Palace helplessly, and she returned to the Sky Universe. That's just the way it is. Streamer Supreme explained the situation. The Master of the Palace of Life and Death smiled bitterly and said, If we don't give the system, it seems that they don't plan to leave. Ancestor Soul Destroyer, I just suddenly thought of a question. Perhaps some strong people from our Palace of Life and Death will choose to join them. The soul-destroying Supreme Body was shaken. Judging from the news brought back by Liu Guang Supreme, the other party is extremely powerful. These strong men who got the news in advance and came back to help the sect have a little firmer faith. Coming from behind, the strong men who simply want to gain benefits are not so firm in their beliefs. It is entirely possible to join the other party. At that time, they can enter the Sky Universe to target them. As a result, the Sky Universe is not safe for them at all. Even if they delay, it will take decades at most. Doesn't make much sense. Hall Master, judging from the strength of the other party, it is impossible for the other party to be Ye Chen and the others. We might as well show our sincerity directly and let's go out together. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord took a deep breath and said, if we fully cooperate with each other, there is no need for the other party to target us. After all, our Palace of Life and Death still has some strength. With the other party's strength, the other party probably doesn't have much interest in Sea Area 13. The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death nodded slightly. He has a 5-star immortal treasure and 6 4-star immortal warriors. The other party's palace owner should be a 5-star immortal level figure. Such a force is already a large force. The major forces can also occupy a large territory in the Supreme Universe. Don't you feel comfortable? Without further ado, let's get out. The soul-destroying Heavenly Lord said in a deep voice. Soon the soul-destroying Heavenly Lord, Flowing Light Supreme, and the Master of Life and Death Hall all arrived outside the Sky Vault universe. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Dit. Chapter 480. As soon as soul-destroying Heavenly Lord and the others arrived outside, the hidden Golden Arrow Supreme immediately discovered them. Lord, soul-destroying Heavenly Lord and the others are out. The Golden Arrow Supreme immediately sent a message. Keep hiding. Ye Chen said via voice transmission. Yes, my lord. The Golden Arrow Supreme replied. He, the Dark Supreme, and the 3 of them are now well hidden, and the Soul-Destroying Supreme has not discovered them. The Soul-Destroying Supreme and the others did not hide it. Golden Arrow Supreme found them quite easy. They didn't attack us, so that's the good news. There should be a possibility of cooperation. The Soul-Destroying Supreme said. The 3 of them quickly arrived at the Brahma Ring. Please inform me that the soul-destroying Heavenly Lord of the Life and Death Palace, Liu Guang Supreme, and the Master of the Life and Death Palace are here to pay my respects. The soul-destroying Supreme said loudly. Half a minute passed before Soul Destroyer Supreme and the others felt a suction force. The next second they were all absorbed into the Brahma Ring, and went directly to the Beauty Palace. You 3, do you know me? Ye Chen appeared in front of Soul Destroyer Supreme and the others in his original appearance. At the same time, the terrifying pressure from Hanjian Palace was suppressed by Soul Destroyer Supreme and the others. If they were in the Sky Universe, Ye Chen couldn't defeat them, but now that they have left the Sky Universe, Soul Destroyer Supreme and the others are nothing. The Soul Destroying Supreme is only a 2-star immortal level. Puff. Unable to withstand the terrifying pressure, the Master of Life and Death Hall was the first to vomit blood. Ye Chen, it's you. The faces of Soul Destroyer Supreme and the others are extremely ugly. They had been extremely careful, but they didn't expect to be lured out by Ye Chen. Isn't it just me? Ye Chen chuckled. The 5 sky-breaking sword bamboo trees also released extremely overbearing pressure. Poof. Poof. The Flowing Light Supreme and the Soul-Destroying Supreme cannot bear the pressure. The last 4-star Master Servant Contract Scroll appeared in Ye Chen's hand, and he directly used this Master Servant Contract Scroll to control the Soul-Destroying Supreme. My lord. The Soul-Destroying Supreme said quickly and respectfully. The Master of Life and Death Palace and Supreme Liu Guang were dumbfounded. Streamer Supreme is a little better. After all, she has an immortal level of cultivation. If the plane is not destroyed, she will not die. The Lord of the Palace of Life and Death is heartbroken. My lord. The 4 Dark Lords also returned, and they saluted with the same respect. Puff. The master of the Hall of Life and Death was so angry that he vomited another mouthful of blood. It turned out that the Dark Supreme and the others had already been taken care of by Ye Chen. Ye Chen didn't let Dark Supreme and the others enter the Sky Universe, because they might lose control once they got inside. If they don't come out, Ye Chen will probably be unable to do anything to them. Soul-destroying Supreme Being, are there any immortal level experts in the Sky Universe? Ye Chen asked. Even if the Deadwood Supreme in front of him lied, it is impossible for the soul-destroying Supreme to lie. If so, the soul-destroying Supreme 2-star immortal level cultivation level must know it. My lord, no. The soul-destroying Supreme said respectfully. Ye Chen nodded slightly. Dark Supreme, the 4 of you continue to guard the sky and the universe, prevent all strong men from entering, and capture all the top strong men here. Yes, my lord. The Dark Lord and the others said in unison. Ye Chen imprisoned the soul-destroying Supreme and their cultivation, and then took the soul-destroying Supreme and the others into the Sky Universe. Luo Yudi was in the Brahma Ring and naturally followed Ye Chen into the Sky Universe. Immediately, Ye Chen's strength was suppressed 100 times. But now Ye Chen is not afraid. Even if he is suppressed 100 times, his strength is still at the top level in the Sky Universe. Besides, he still has Hanjian Palace, Xiaoliu, and the others. Chang Li, hurry up and adapt to the environment here in the Palace of Life and Death. Ye Chen smiled. Luo Yudi nodded. Luo Yudi immediately started practicing, and Ye Chen changed his location to another place. Not long after, a top-notch glazed realm expert from the Palace of Life and Death arrived at the area where Ye Chen appeared. He sensed spatial fluctuations. But nothing was found here. Things are not good. More powerful people in the Palace of Life and Death got the news. There are powerful people sneaking into the Sky Universe, and the masters of the Palace of Life and Death have not returned. This situation is not good news for the Palace of Life and Death. But there is nothing they can do. They dare not leave the Palace of Life and Death. Looking for Ye Chen, they couldn't find him. 3 months passed before I knew it. Ye Chen and Luo Yudi's strength here has increased more than 10 times. Xiaoliu has reached the 5-star immortal level. The strength here has also reached the 4-star immortal level. Husband. En Langxiu and Lu Qianqian arrived at Tianxian Universe, and they had already transferred July Universe. Their message transmission to Ye Chen failed. Ye Chen is now inside the Tianxian Universe and cannot receive their sound transmission. Dark Supreme. En Langxiu sent another message to the Dark Lord. This time the natural sound transmission was successful. Mother, the Lord has entered the Sky Universe 3 months ago, and the Lord has captured the Master of the Hall of Life and Death and others. The Dark Supreme sent a message. En Langxiu's eyes lit up. They came here to help, but they didn't expect that Ye Chen didn't need their help, it was already done. After 3 months, my husband should be very strong inside. En Langxiu and Lu Qianqian talked. They did not enter the Sky Universe immediately. Even if they enter the Sky Universe, their strength is not weak, but it is still a bit risky. If they fall into the hands of the enemy, it will be a big trouble for Ye Chen. Hiding, En Langxiu and Lu Qianqian practiced while waiting. Another half a month passed. In the Sea of the Universe, a huge warship sailed towards the Sky Universe at a high speed. This is a 4-star immortal warship. Belongs to the 4-star immortal ancestor of the Life and Death Palace. Originally, he did not have such a warship. 300 million years ago, he joined a powerful organization. The Dark Cult. Recently, the above gave this warship and asked him to come back and take a look. Investigate the situation of the life and death paradise here. At the bow of the warship, the Death Heavenly Lord of the Life and Death Palace stared ahead. He has not been back for 20 to 30 billion years. Brother Death, this is the territory of your Life and Death Palace. This task should be easy for you, Brother Death. The leader will definitely reward you. Next to the Life and Death Heavenly Lord, a black tiger spoke. He is also a 4-star immortal. The Death Paradise is very important, and the Hades cult sent out 2 of their 4-star immortal level warriors. In addition, there are several 3-star immortal level warriors in the warship. Brother Black Tiger, given our relationship, I will benefit from it, so how can I miss you? Death Lord smiled. Ha ha ha. Black Tiger laughed. At this moment, Death Lord's eyes condensed. Although their warships are still some distance away from the Sky Universe, Death Lord has already noticed that something is wrong on the Sky Universe side. The Sky Universe is a super first-line universe and the core of the 13th sea area. There are many warships coming in and out every day. Now there are no warships coming in and out of the Sky Universe, which is very abnormal. Brother Black Tiger, something is wrong. I'm afraid our Life and Death Hall is in trouble. Death Lord's eyes flashed. He quickly sent messages to the strong men in the Life and Death Hall one by one. When he sent messages to the Life and Death Hall Master, the message naturally failed. When he sent messages to the Dark Supreme, the message was successful. The Lord of Death is back. The Supreme Dark Lord is now absolutely loyal to Ye Chen, and he immediately sent a message to Enlangxiu and the others. Enlangxiu and the others were shocked. The Lord of Death is a 4-star immortal level cultivator. The 4 of the Supreme Dark Lord plus the 2 of them are definitely not a match for the Lord of Death. We must tell my husband immediately. Enlangxiu and the others didn't care about taking risks at this time, and the 2 of them immediately entered the Sky Universe.